Jimmy Mizen was the son of Barry and Margaret Mizen. He was their sixth son and eighth child. Mizen was 16 years old, 6 feet 4 inches, and 14 stone. He lived in Lee Green and attended St Thomas More Catholic Comprehensive School in Eltham, South East London. Jake Farey had a string of convictions involving robbery and violence. On 19th July 2004, he was given a 9-month referral order for taking part in the gang knife point robbery of a schoolboy at Falconwood Station in Bexley, South East London. On 4th January 2005, he was given a 12-month supervision order for the robbery of an adult in Greenwich Park on 13th April 2004. On 13th April 2006, he was given an 18-month supervision order for an unprovoked assault on a girl in the street and a burglary. The Mizen family had previous dealings with Jake Farey. In 2001, he walked up to Harry Mizen in the street and asked for money before punching him in the stomach. Harry, who was 10 years old, handed over 20p but told his mother about the incident, and she made a complaint to Farey's school. 2 years later, on 1st of April 2003, Farey saw Harry in Woodyates Road, Lee, and demanded to know why he had grassed. Harry tried to escape, but Farey grabbed hold of his shirt and threatened to beat him up before punching him in the chest. Police visited Farey's home on 7th May 2003 to speak to him about the incident and gave him a harassment warning. The culmination of these events led to the incident in which Jimmy Mizen was murdered, in which Harry Mizen, Jimmy's brother, had been mugged a total of 2 times by Jake Farey over the course of 6 years prior to the death of Jimmy. Harry had turned Jake over to school on the first count, with Jake proposing to never succumbing to mugging again, and after 5 years, Jake seemed to recognise Harry, mugging him a second time before he was turned over to the police. At a bakery years later, Jake recognised Harry, however set his sights on Jimmy, inevitably causing his death. At approximately 11:30 on the morning of Saturday 10th May 2008, a day after his 16th birthday, Jimmy Mizen was inside the Three Cooks Bakery in Burnt Ash Hill, South London, with his brother Harry. Jake Farey, 19, of Middlesbrough Crescent, Lee, entered the shop and an altercation began when Jimmy Mizen stood up to threats being made against him by Farey. 5 feet 7 inches, Farey challenged Mizen to go outside the shop, but Mizen refused. Not wanting to lose face after picking a fight with Jimmy Mizen, Farey went back into the shop and hit Jimmy Mizen with 2 plastic drinks. The Mizen brothers defended themselves and traded punches with Farey. All 3 then crashed into a glass cake display before Farey was bundled out of the shop. Farey then re-entered the shop with a metal-framed advertising sign and started poking Jimmy Mizen with it. Mizen held on to the sign and in a panic, Farey reached for a 12-inch 30cm hot glass dish from the counter and threw it at Jimmy Mizen. Shattering on his chin, a 1.5-inch glass shard pierced his neck and severed vital blood vessels. According to witnesses, Farey exited the bakery with a triumphant grin on his face. Mizen managed to stagger into the rear of the bakery and into a cupboard to shield himself from what he thought was Jake returning, where his older brother Tommy, 27 at the time, found him. Jimmy Mizen collapsed in his brother's arms. Their mother Margaret arrived soon after and fainted at the sight of her son. She regained consciousness soon after and called her husband Barry Mizen, who arrived an hour later, only to find his son had died. Farey handed himself into police custody 3 days later after the attack. In police recordings of his interviews, Farey commented, "Someone has died because of me. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to kill him." Farey said he panicked when he thought he was losing grip of the advertising sign. Farey, now crying, said, "I can feel it coming out of my hand, so I panicked. I looked to my left, there was a tray there. I picked it up and threw it. I didn't mean to hit him. I didn't, I just threw it. I thought he would put his hands up so he'd let go of the sign. All I wanted to do is I didn't want him to hit me with the sign, so I picked up the dish. I didn't think it would smash and I threw it and it hit him, and it hit him. I didn't mean it to, for that to happen. I didn't mean to hit him, didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to. I might have been lippy at the start, but I didn't mean it to happen. He said he ran off when Jimmy Mizen let go of the sign. He was challenged by Jimmy's older brother Tommy, 27, outside the shop. Forey said he only learned of Mizen's death when his mother rang him to explain what had happened. Forey said he went in the shop for a sandwich. He changed his mind and turning around saw Mizen was standing in his way. Forey said, "I made a step and looked at him to say, I'm trying to get past. I didn't get no reaction, so I brushed past him and he's obviously took offence to that and said, 'Don't touch me.'" He then challenged the Mizens to go outside but re-entered after seeing Harry on the phone summoning Tommy to help. Forey was remanded in custody and stood trial for the murder of Jimmy Mizen at the Central Criminal Court on March 11, 2009, before Mr Justice Calvert Smith and a jury. At his trial, Forey admitted throwing the glass dish but denied murder. Crispin Aylett, QC prosecuting, said a trivial incident brought about by the defendant's rudeness escalated into something horrific. The defendant reached for any and every available weapon with which to attack the Mizen brothers. The whole incident lasted no more than 3 minutes. 3 minutes of absolute madness on the part of this defendant. Pathologist Dr. Benjamin Swift told the court that Jimmy Mizen died from loss of blood. A glass shard had severed the carotid artery and jugular veins, which were both 0.4 inches below the skin near the jaw. However, the jury rejected Forey's version of events and found him guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 14 years.